Hi, and welcome to the first Excel exam strategic breakdown, where we will be looking at study strategy for the exam as well as practical tips and tricks. So, after this video, you'll have 6 tools which you can arm yourself with so that you don't fail like so much people that we saw failing did the past years. So, a little bit background about us before we dive in. My name is Dima,
And I'm Maxime.
and we're both founders of Pass the Year. And what we do is we help you pass without the stress in 7 days. We have done that for 200 plus students in the past years, and we also taught 80 people for Excel. And we're coming back now to your year, but a bit different, as we're giving you a special giveaway of 7 days of free sessions, mock exams, and practice, and everything that our previous cohort of students paid for, available to you free in our group chat. So, before you watch this video or after, go down in the description and check out the schedule, and also make sure to message us if you would like in. So now, without further ado, let's dive right in to the content. So Maxime, the way we'll be breaking down these 6 tips is in two stages, right? We'll have the strategy and we'll have the practical and tacticals, right? So first of all, you need to understand which game you're playing, right? The playing field, and every single course is a different playing field. So tell me a bit about the Excel playing field.
Well, Dima, thank you for bringing it up, because indeed, Excel is a bit different from the other exams that you've had so far. Right? Accounting and math, for example, it was mostly about learning a set of given problems and how to solve them. Right? So you had a skill and you were just able to repeat it. And in the exam, it was something fairly similar. Whereas here in Excel, it's mostly going to be about a scary thing, which is you thinking. All right, we're going to have to use our minds here. And so our goal here in this video is going to just show you, okay, how then can you set up this logic game to be able to best answer to the different exercises. But this whole exam is about 2 things only. So remember this: logical thinking and creative problem solving. So it's not going to be a memorization game this time around. You're going to have to actually understand all the formulas as if they were your little babies, the functions, and understand exactly what they do and in what context they can be used. Well, Dima for this has a very good analogy, which is a sword fighter, if I remember.
Sure, yeah, I would not use babies because functions work for you, and otherwise you'll have a lot of child labor going on. I'm not sure if you're ready to do that, but also give a bit of context. We both got high scores for Excel. Mine was 8.8, right? And so this was really important when I approached this game, because at the exam, that's the one thing that you should be optimizing for. You want to understand what the exam makers want of you, right? And they are going to be testing these 2 things: creative problem solving and logical thinking. And you can only do that if you dive into the game itself, right? Into practice. And that is where the sword fighter analogy comes in. A sword fighter never would win a battle if you would only study the theory, right? So you need to really get in there, get the punches, or, well, hopefully not the stabs, but you need to combine these 2 things, right? And there's another crucial element that you absolutely cannot skip in order to succeed on the exam, which we'll get to in a second, but I'll already tell you. It's the understanding and comprehension of the questions combined with time management. But that's going to be in the practicals, okay? So, Maxime, thank you for the explanation. And just to reiterate the main takeaway, theoretical understanding of the arguments will not save you, okay? There's a very funny reason for that, because there's the tooltips on the computer already, right? So we advise this to all of our students when we were teaching them. You got to focus on the understanding so that you're resilient, and so that any problem that is put in front of you by the teachers, you can slay with your sword or swords, different tools, which are your functions, okay? So, Maxime, what would be the hardest and the toughest beast to slay in this game?
Right, so we have many different chapters that are going to come, and there are some that we're going to speak in a moment that students overlook sometimes. And well, if we were to speak about the hardest one, it's definitely date and time. I've had students struggling with it so very much. And why? Because it has so many different variations and ways of using those different functions. So one thing that you have to understand is that in the current way the exam is made and the way it was in previous years, is that all the chapters are pretty separated, right? As you see, you have different modules, and inside of those, you have different list of functions. It's what you can find at the top of your canvas right now. And I would look at this as like your new sort of Bible for the Excel exam, because those chapters happen to be pretty separated. So for example, you have all the text functions that go together, all the conditional functions, all the lookup functions. And all of those are not really interdependent in exercises. So normally you do not mix them together, which means that you have different battles to prepare for. And the toughest one is date and time. So for this one, you should really put in some extra practice.
And
At least
this
that's what we try
exactly.
to focus on with DMA in previous years.
Absolutely. And by the way, this is also exactly what we'll focus on in our sessions, where if you're in our WhatsApp group, you'll be able to attend them. The link is only shared inside. So before you forget, make sure to go down and find the link to sign up. Maybe the group by then is already closed, but you can already try. Anyway, the sessions will be about the toughest topics, especially including date and time, but also the conditionals, lookups, and text as well. So we'll be making sure that even if you've not yet opened a book, as some of you might not have, we'll definitely help you get there. But the first thing you should do after this video, if you've not opened the digital book in this case, is open it. Anyway, to recap everything, we have three main takeaways, right? Essentially, the exam is about logical thinking and problem solving. Theoretically, learning the arguments and functions will not save you, okay? So please make sure that you start understanding and comprehending everything fully. And date and time is really your biggest enemy because of all the different variations. And now, to encapsulate all this, how should you think about teaching yourself Excel, or if you have not attended the workshops, it has to become an extension of you, right? Just like so that you can apply it with any problem that is put in front of you. I will reiterate that is only possible if you practice enough instead of just watching videos like these, okay? You gotta open Excel, make the mistakes, see the errors, and be confused so that you're not confused on the exam. That is the thing. And the faster you do this, the faster you'll learn, okay? With the right guidance. Now, let's advance to the next section of the video, practical tactics. So what I mean by that is, what are the small actions that you need to take in order to succeed and get an 8 or even a 10? Because it's possible in this exam. Now, Maxime, what, from your experience and your analysis of the latest exams, is the area that most students leave points behind on, and which, if they would study a little bit extra, they could get much more?
Well, and so in this, I have a story to tell, which is one of our students a couple years ago, which happened to be extraordinary at Excel. Okay, so he did what you guys should be doing, which means that he spent a long time in the function sheets trying to come up with different variations of them, really taking time for the brain to understand this new tool and this new sort of reality, because you can do anything in Excel. But there's one thing that he overlooked, and that you absolutely shouldn't if you want to be ready for the exam, which is pivot tables, data tables, goal seeker, scenario manager, all of those rather easy skills. Well, he just looked at it and he was like, I understand it's way easier than functions. He did a few like together with me in the sessions, but eventually just stopped looking at them. And so when it came to the exam, it was something slightly different than what he had prepared for, and therefore he did not get the 10 that he really should have gotten. Well, he got an 8, which is not too bad, but it could have been even more. All right, so those skills, I've seen many students not practice them enough. Once again, an extension of you. So when it comes to pivot tables, just look at any tables that you want. It can be basketball games of the NBA if you are a Lakers fan right now. It can be anything. And you just try to make hundreds pivot tables about it. So the average of the players in this team in the West are, you just shuffle it around until it really becomes clear what you do,
But don't
because
worry.
DXL's time is mostly about time management. So it's important that you're able to do all of this quickly.
Don't worry, you don't have to do 100 of them, okay? Maxime is
Well,
maybe a little bit of a extra fan, you know. You just
a
sits
thousand,
sits
maybe to a
in
million,
his bedroom and
then
is
then
like,
you'll be
okay,
right.
what is the average of this guy's top three pros? Okay, but that's a really good tip, and I don't want you to miss out on those points. And this goes for the finessers as well, right? We help all kinds of students, and there's the ones that want an 8 and a 10, but there's also the finessers that want to just pass. And especially for you, these are the easy points to get, okay? Don't miss out and make sure that you get it. So, as you mentioned, Time management is a very important skill. And Maxime, you also prepare people for the GMAT, right? You got a great score on that. And what I heard from you is that time management is literally the top one skill besides all the, calculations and all the stuff that you need to master to really get there, right? So, but when we talk about time management, what is it practically, right? Do you have a framework for us to understand and for people to actually go through during the exam so that they manage their time well?
Yeah. Well, and first, maybe we should speak about one thing which has been a problem. Well, not a problem, but something for the both of us and for many, many of our students who ended up not having the same exact system as the university. Do you see what I'm speaking about there?
Yeah, sure. If you like good computers instead of Windows, then you might have a tough time. So what Maxime is hinting on is that there's a big difference between how your Mac could be set up and how a Windows computer is set up. And I didn't attend any workshops or any lectures for Excel. And then you can, but I did practice on the computers independently. So you could be in for a big surprise if you don't. And then your time management will go to shit guaranteed. Excuse me for my cursing, but I'm passionate about the subject because you might have the problem between a semicolon and a comma, right? For example, separating the arguments and a lot of small other things, like for example, not knowing where to find a certain setting for example, goal seek. And I really, once again, don't want you to be facing all of those problems, considering that on the exam, you will be seeing a lot of stuff that you might not completely know, right? We'll get to that in the next point, which I think is really one of the most valuable things in this video. But yeah, so the point you were asking me to make, Maxime, is just go study at least once, but hopefully multiple times in the school computers, right? To really get that intuition going again, but not just on your Mac, but also on Windows, right?
Yeah, yeah. When we did our practice exams in previous years on campus, we always did it in those rooms because trust me, doing it at least once or twice, studying there is going to save you big time on the actual exam.
Yeah, I mean, that was super
And
fun. We had like 80 people in a
it
room
was
all crunching Excel. It was great.
And you were mentioning a template in a moment ago. There is actually a way that you can ensure that all of the questions in the exams you indeed go through properly. Because think about it, just like any exam, you're going to have roughly 80% of questions, which if you study our sessions and you do it properly, then you should have rather easily. But there's always this last 20%, which is different from something that has been seen before, where the university makes it a little harder. And so for those questions in particular, here's the time frame that you should go through. The first thing that Dima always puts up, but I agree and I couldn't agree more, is to look at the question as deeply as you can. Really understand what you are being asked. It's always a game, and you can find and you can spend 20 minutes solving for the wrong end. I assure you, it comes all the time. So make
And a
sure
little
that you
note about that is like when we say understand, we mean that you really look at kind of the question behind the question, and so that you maybe you were getting that, Maxine, but like that you really
yeah.
see the elements both in how they phrase it and in the question itself. Like look at clues, look at what they're trying to tell you, or how much columns there are, for example, for the in between solutions, right? Which doesn't always mean that you should use a certain formula, but which can suggest how they want you to go through it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all the tools are right in front of you to understand what exactly you should be using to solve, and so you really have to analyze it deeply. And then, what we mentioned about the functions before is that knowing the arguments won't help you. But for every chapters, you have a list of functions. And so therefore, if you don't know what to do in an exercise, I want you to go through every single one of them. Let's take text function, for example. You don't know what is in front of you, you don't know how to solve. But now, actually, so you understand where you should get to. Well, you should think, okay, replace, it does this, and it helps me in this context usually. Okay, substitute, it does this. And you go through every single one of them until you find something that might eventually help you. And very important, if after 45 seconds to 1 minute you really have no clue of what to do on a question, then it becomes once again a time management thing and put it at the end. Just disregard it and already spend time on the questions that you can solve and come back to it only at the end. I mean, yeah, we had a sad story of a very good student again, but who spent maybe 30 minutes on one question, which is, it sounds a lot, but it's very typical actually, when you just try to solve and you don't know how, and who ended up not getting the grades that she deserved because of that. So really watch out.
Absolutely. And a pro tip for me, because I've done this exam multiple times, also to improve a grade, for example, but also out of interest, honestly, because it's a pretty useful course and it's our job to understand how they make the exams. And one of the tips that saved my ass a few times is reading all of the questions before committing to any of the question, right? Because sometimes you really don't want to be in a situation where when you at the end you scroll to the to the end and you see, holy shit, the easiest questions are the back and they're also the worth like an okay amount of points, and you just run out of time. So what is the silent killer of exams for people is lack of situational awareness in an exam due to stress. Okay, so I want you to rise above the game, okay, and really see the bigger playing field, also in the comprehension of questions, right? So you need to manage your resources well, almost like in Clash of Clans or whatever game you play, or
Interesting
like in a
example.
basketball game. And so, yeah, first of all, I would suggest go through all the questions, identify the easy ones, okay? The ones that you're very sure you can crack quickly, okay? Prioritize those first. Then identify the second tier, which is, I think I will be able to, right? Prioritize those second, and then leave all the stuff that you're like, bro, I have no idea how to do this till the end, so that you also have peace of mind that you already know, like, okay, I likely have a good or passing or a good grade secured. Now let's go to the grind essentially, and I've been able to figure out after a lot of experimentation how to actually get those third rate questions right as well, right? So to recap, the name of the game is time management and situational awareness on the exam, right? And first, you want to look at all the questions, look at the question, figure out where it stands on this ranking. Then start, as Maxime said, remembering the different functions that you have in your toolkit, right? Which you might be able to choose. And for these, there's three important points. There's the ability of the function. What can it do? The context, aka where does it fit, right? For where can I use it? And then the third thing I would say is what functions does it often collaborate with? Because you will have to make a lot of nested functions as well. And so you need to start building that muscle, start building that intuition, and it only comes through practice. And so, even if you consider yourself a super fast learner, the fastest way to learn is through practice. If you consider yourself a hard learner or you're not used to technology, which a lot of people have struggled with this, the fast way is practice. Of course, while being supported in the right way. Would you add anything, Maxime?
No, I mean, I think you said it all. It's a tough exam, but if you do it properly, don't worry. If you understand the questions, the functions, there is eventually only so many tools that you can use. And so if you understand those, which is about like 8 to 10 per chapter maximum, then you should be okay. Okay? There's not actually that many things that they can ask you in the actual exam.
Absolutely. Well, that was it. Here you have 6 very actionable tips and strategies on how to excel on this exam. Haha, see what I did there? If you have any more questions, actually, join our WhatsApp group and attend the sessions and practice with the mock exams and the practice we'll be giving you. I promise to you that our sessions are actually amazing. They're way more engaging than what the uni gives you, and they are nothing like traditional tutoring that you might be used to from some maybe purple company. My name escapes me, but their name escapes me. So anyway, check for the link to join and see the schedule in the description. We will be super happy to see you, and we will even be helping people in the chat to figure stuff out. Plus, you'll have access to a supportive community, which at this point should be already more than 70 students. Anyway, see you in there. Thank you so much for watching, and don't stress, just finesse.